Try something smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It's Wednesday, the 7th of February, 2024, and this is program number 1137 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio, 101.1 FM, you can get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com, rcistlucia.com, and you can download all our previous shows in MP3 format on that platform. You can also get us live streaming on Facebook, and that is on the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. And if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046 is our mainline number, but you also have that option of calling in to WhatsApp. That number is 724-0008. If you've got the app, you can use it to message in or call in. And again, the number is 724-0008. Of course, it's birthday greetings going out to Grenada. They are celebrating their 50th anniversary of independence. And so we're wishing all Grenadians a very, very happy birthday, a very happy independence, a very important milestone for this Caribbean state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So whatever your association is with Grenada, you may have been born there, you may be a citizen living there right now, or in St. Lucia visiting, or you may have visited Grenada, you may have got family over there. Whatever the case, we do hope that you send a smile on a Grenadian's face today and make sure that they know we're very proud of all their achievements. Now, it's also the birthday of Chris Rock. He's actually turning 59, believe it or not, today. A bit of history. In the year 1842, in the Battle of Debre Tabor, Ras Ali Alula, regent of the Emperor of Ethiopia, defeated warlord Wube Haile Mariam of Simeon. In the year 1856, the colonial Tasmanian Parliament passed the first piece of legislation called the Electoral Act of 1856. And that was the first piece of legislation anywhere in the world providing for elections by way of a secret ballot, believe it or not. In 1991, on this day, the Provisional IRA, Irish Republican Army, launched a mortar attack on number 10 Downing Street. Of course, that's the UK Prime Minister's residence and office, and that was during a cabinet meeting in an attempt to assassinate then UK Prime Minister John Major. It ended up injuring 4 people. And in 1992, on this day, the Maastricht Treaty was signed by 12 countries from the European Community, and that created the European Union. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. There's all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Joux Lane, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, the story and the headlines, unfortunately, seem to be all about guns. or violence of some form or the other. And even to the point where we're seeing the issue of guns coming in on cruise ships. Quite recently, there was an incident in which a visitor to the island coming in on a cruise ship, in fact, was traveling with a firearm. And it appears that he seemed to have been moving around with this gun, and in fact this was apprehended by authorities. And so, in fact, the Minister for Tourism recently commenting about the matter, in fact, pointed out that it's perhaps a good sign that he, in fact, was caught here in St. Lucia with this firearm, because he had been to other ports, and apparently he seemed not to have been detected with this firearm in his shoulder bag. And he was identified here, however. So it appears that the system is working, according to Dr. Ernest Hilaire, the tourism minister. But pointing out, the prevalence of guns. In this instance, the individual, his firearms seemed to have had a permit, although it was apparently not a permit from St. Lucia, that is. So he was not licensed to hold it here. But it appeared that, in fact, it had in fact expired as well. So that the gun was in fact confiscated, but the gentleman was allowed to leave the country. Here in St. Lucia, in the community of Vieux-Fort, again another homicide, and this time the victim being a 36-year-old man who is a resident of Larry Struce, Vieux-Fort. And so we send across our condolences to the family of Mr. Rick Kistner, who was shot and killed last night. And the Vieux-Fort police responded to that matter at about 10:20 p.m. And he was pronounced dead at the hospital, the St. Jude Hospital. I believe, although this article seems to suggest from St. Lucia Times that we are at number 11, but by my last count, we were already at number 11, so this should probably be number 12 for the year 2024. Also, beyond that issue, of course, of what we're seeing in terms of the loss of life, how we've seen that a former minister of government has found himself in a bit of hot water, but it seems though the question is there really always fire when there's smoke? And in this instance, it involves former government minister, former Home Affairs minister as well, and as well as former Minister for Health during the Stevenson King. Well, first John Compton and then Stevenson King governments, Dr. Keith Mondesi. But apparently, it seems as if there was a bit of an altercation or in some sort of exchange of words with representatives of a construction company. And perhaps statements were made, but the individuals then accused him of in fact threatening him and suggested that he had a firearm, and so he was his premises were searched, and there was in fact no firearm, and he's in fact come out to say that he's never owned a firearm. Now I think the way this story was perhaps written by another online media news gave the impression that, well, if there's no firearm found, then maybe he's got an illegal firearm somewhere. Now, it's very, very, very strange conjecture to be making, to be moving from one point of fact to therefore suggest that it has to be something else. So unfortunately, that was how that story was written, and political elements seem to have run with that story and blew it up in a very strange way, because that was actually being done by individuals aligned to the United Workers' Party, United PAC, trying to suggest that this individual was therefore, I suppose because maybe he no longer supports their cause, it was therefore somehow aligned to criminality. But let me just share with you the story coming out of St. Lucia Times, and it's entitled, Dr. Keith Mondesi, I Have No Gun. Former St. Lucia Government Minister Dr. Keith Mondesi on Tuesday declared that he has never owned a gun amid reports police arrested him after complaints regarding a firearm. He disclosed that the police searched his home and did not find a weapon. Mondesi, a former Ancillary Canneries MP in a United Workers' Party UWP administration, said he owns a property in Beausejour-Grosley. He said Reno Kajada's construction company washes vehicles that carry cement, and the water flows into the drain on his property, settles, and becomes a concrete mass. Quote, it blocks the drain and blocks the pipe that runs onto my property, Mondesi told St. Lucia Times. He said he went to the company to report that matter. The company cleaned the drain and invited him to contact should the problem occur again. According to the former MP, when the problem persisted, he contacted a company employee and received a reprimand and an order to leave. I left, went to my vehicle, and they reported I went in my vehicle to take a gun, Mondesi told St. Lucia Times. However, he declared that he had never owned a gun and never applied for a firearm license. Up to this day, I have no gun, Mondesi declared. He recalled that 4 months ago, the police searched his home and found no weapon. The former MP said on Monday the police returned and searched twice but did not find a firearm. Quote, they are harassing me because 4 months ago all that was gone, but lately it is coming back again, Mondesi lamented. The former MP asserted that he could have obtained a legal firearm when he served as National Security Minister, but did not. Mondesi told St. Lucia Times that he qualifies to own one even now. Quote, I told them 15 years later, I am so ignorant and so against the law for me to go, knowing I can have a legal firearm with no problem, that I would get a gun without a license? I told the officer that doesn't make sense, the former minister stated. He said he spent about 2 hours at the Grosley police station and intends to seek legal advice regarding his spat with the construction company over its activities near his property. So that is that story. Rather strange one, really and truly, about this entire matter. But certainly it does speak to the need of responsible reporting, and not just reporting of crimes to the police and providing accurate information, but also responsible reporting at the level of media as well. And of course, for all those others who may want to put information out on the airwaves. Now, on to the public transport sector, just very quickly. It appears that there may very well be some issue there with the Soufrière-Forcejac minibus drivers. And they have ended a protest but issued an ultimatum to the Ministry of Infrastructure. Soufrière-Forcejac minibus drivers have ended a protest over poor road conditions in their community with an ultimatum to the Ministry of Infrastructure. The drivers staged a one-day sick-out on Monday. However, the National Council on Public Transportation, President Godfrey Ferdinand, recalled visiting the area. Quote, we were able to talk with the ministry officials regarding our conditions for going back to work, Ferdinand told the St. Lucia Times. He said the conditions included immediate work on fixing the potholes and providing a clear understanding of what would happen to the Soufrière-Forcejac road. The NCOPT president said the drivers were back on the job. Quote, we gave the government a 7-day outline to start working on that particular piece of road, he disclosed. Ferdinand warned that failure to start work on the road would result in another sick-out. But he said the Ministry of Infrastructure promised to commence the work this week. And that story coming from the St. Lucia Times. And again, another fairly important route, certainly a secondary road that links the town of Soufrière, that heads up the Soufrière Valley, and then connects to the community of Fort-Saint-Jacques, which is effectively the second largest, one could say the second largest community in the district of Soufrière, is being placed under scrutiny. And that road has perhaps been around for quite some time. It hasn't really been rehabilitated in a fairly long time. And it certainly is a very important route from a touristic perspective, from an agricultural perspective, and then from all other economic perspectives, because no doubt a lot of people who live in Fort-Saint-Jacques have to seek services at least in Soufrière, and then further afield. Yes, there is that other route that would take you up to from Fort-Saint-Jacques to Belle Plaine. That is certainly an alternative route that possibly could be looked at for it really in such situations. But maybe that road too has its own issues with respect to road conditions, and so definitely the need to look and give some attention to that route is pretty vital, I would say, at this time. And so let's hope, and even so, in cases of emergencies, if for whatever reason the main Soufrière VA4 route is in fact compromised for whatever reason, and it's happened in the past because of landslides due to some form of hurricane or whatnot, that potentially could be an alternative route, albeit it actually goes through some pretty mountainous area as well that could very well, and we have seen in the past, be prone to disruptions due to landslides. But definitely a very important alternative route which needs some attention. And we have been promised this coming financial year that we're going to be seeing a significant uptick in infrastructure, and in particular road infrastructure. And there's no doubt about it that there are many roads, arterial roads as well as secondary roads, as well as tertiary and roads and streets that require attention in the country. And let's hope that we can see some significant improvement. It's not going to take a year though, because these works do take a lot of time, and quite often they can be delayed. And we've seen the impacts of such delays in the case of the Millennium Highway project. That has been sometimes delays maybe because of acts of God, the weather, and other disruptions. But sometimes as well, the capacity of the contractor to deliver is a major factor. And we've seen in the past how if in fact sometimes these contractors may not have the financial wherewithal to be able to hold those projects together. That has been a problem on a number of projects in St. Lucia. For instance, in the case of the Owen King EU Hospital, there were issues with the Italian company. At one point, I was working on that hospital. They had their own financial issues abroad, and that ends up impacting the ability of the company to deliver. And so we've seen that, unfortunately, in a number of instances. And so that is also a really important responsibility for the Ministry of Infrastructure to ensure that they have good technical as well as legal oversight when it comes to management of these contracts. So it sounds very much nice, and let's hope that it can happen. But definitely, infrastructure is going to take some time to actually get going and to get completed. Once you're talking about the design work that has to be done and the approvals that have to get going, and then of course the bidding processes which take time, and the contracts which then have to be executed. All of those things can take quite a long time. So once you're dealing with deficits, once you're dealing with situations where has not been sufficient attention provided to infrastructure in the past, you're going to find that it is a fight against time in trying to deliver on many of these areas that clearly need addressing. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll be taking in your calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Ju Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And we, of course, welcome your calls at this time. The number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message into our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Yeah, I'm still hoping that we can get some clarity from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force regarding the homicide count. Because like I said, I do believe we had 3 homicides over the weekend, which would have brought that figure up from 8 to 11. And then as well, this one, which we saw yesterday evening. So I think it should be about 12 at this point. But we'll go to the phone lines at this moment. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today? How are you doing, sir?
How are you and yours?
Very good, thank you. And yours?
I'm not hearing you close.
I'm not sure why that is the case. Any improvement?
Huh?
Any improvement?
Not really. It's kind of low.
Well, I'm not sure what's causing that. It may be on your end because we're at pretty much full volume.
Okay, all right. But you hearing me?
Yes, I am, very clearly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing you, but not very clearly. Mr. George.
Yes, caller, go right ahead.
Are you satisfied that we have a coordinated plan on how we decide we'll be fighting crime?
Well, I have not really heard the coordinated plan.
Okay. Because we seem to be every time there's a strike over the years, we take knee-jerking reaction, and administrations gloat about who has done more for the police, who has a better chance, and it goes on and on. And the people, the perpetrators and the victims of crime, who would you say facing the brunt of that?
When you say who would I say, you're referring to the demographic group that is facing? Yeah. Well, it's largely young males.
Absolutely.
Males under the age of 40.
Are we satisfied that we engage these people enough in what they think, how they see it and what they think, the reason for their behavior, or are they just thrust into a situation that they have no control over what they do and they don't even understand what they're doing?
Well, that's a very good question.
Huh?
I don't believe that we have had sufficient consultation in that regard. You could be consulting on one issue, maybe say education policy for argument's sake, but in terms of crime prevention and in terms of what is it the average young male, maybe in school, what is he looking for, what is he aspiring to, I don't feel that we have done sufficient engagement in that regard. And even when they have actually committed crimes, right, where we've seen there's a tendency that we've seen that there's a disposition to do so, we sometimes just write people off immediately
Yes.
and don't give the opportunity as well to study what they think, and so it's really important in that regard. I know there's been some effort, I believe, in terms of providing psychologists at the level of Bodley Correctional Facility, but I suspect that one individual must be overworked
Because it
for
seems to me,
500
Alex,
inmates in there.
We take the approach of being prescriptive and being the ones that I'm talking about. People, not in that age, in that demographic that I'm talking about, elder people, that we would have the solutions. And every now and then you hear people blame the family, people blame the economic inequities and whatever. But no doubt there are a number of things, and there must be a multiple faceted approach. Agreed?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but it must be coordinated, no?
Yes, it requires coordination.
Right.
You're very correct about that as well.
So, I mean, and this thing didn't start yesterday or even a year before or 10 years ago. The trend of this thing was started more than 10 years ago. We saw it. We saw where it was going. But we never sat down as a people and decided, listen, crime is not going to disappear absolutely, because with the changing dynamic, the development and what comes with it and so on and so forth. But let us try and hold it down. Let us try and ensure that, it doesn't get out of control as it is now, it appears now. We haven't done that, Calix. And we have no, all we measure is, the only indicator, Calix, is how many murders. You know what I'm saying? Now, if the problem is the youth, the main levels at which we could approach the youth is first, they come from homes, okay, Calix? Family, all right?
Yes, caller.
You with me?
I'm here listening.
All right. It's okay, we are already write off the family and say, family is not doing what they're supposed to do, therefore, that's why we have this kind of situation. All right? Then the other level is the schools. So first family, then schools, which is supposed to be sort of more government responsibility, no?
That's correct.
Right. And then you have the churches, which have responsibility, in a sense, to those who subscribe. And we could see the numbers in that level going down, eh?
Certainly.
Right. But at least the school supposed to be a place where we have a captive audience, where we could get maximum youths together at any one time, no?
It is the largest system we have
Right.
of people coming together, definitely.
Right. So, I'm just trying to base on basic logic, that the approach, dealing with the approach. Because what I find in St. Lucia, And we talk a lot about projects and we blame government on it, how they're usually executed very poorly and quality and so on and so forth, and inefficiently and so on. But that's not peculiar to government, colleagues. That seems to be endemic. You look around, you see, sometimes if you have a problem with your vehicle, you might have to face about 10 mechanics before they really find out what's really wrong, You know what I'm saying? And the diagnostic capability of understanding what the problem is so important in terms of solving the problem.
Very much so.
Eh?
Agreed, very much so.
It's like an worst case scenario, going to a doctor and they misdiagnose, that could lead to death, no? Worst situation.
Well, and not just that, it could have lead to you losing all your money and
what I'm
resources.
Saying is that we need capacity to understand the problems, the whole dynamics, how, and therefore from there, having understood what the problems are, then we attempt to solve them. But I think how we going, the problem is crime, how we are going about trying to hold it down is not working. In fact, we don't even have a plan. You understand? We don't even have a plan, colleagues. So we can have nothing to measure our success or where we should tweak, what we should do differently. Yes, we should have, that plan should encompass long-term, medium-term, and short-term. Short-term would be to immediately stop the hemorrhaging,
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't solve the problem. After you stop the hemorrhaging by whatever, sometimes it's high-handed action, and it takes certain kind of, coercive measures that a lot of people might be at variance with. But you need to stop the hemorrhaging. Then you deal with the things that could be addressed medium term, and then the long term. So if you start somewhere, after 10, 20 years of this thing, we would have gotten somewhere, colleagues.
Mm.
But we always missing out on the starting point.
Is it that we're always missing out on the starting? Is it that we are always missing out on the starting point, or is it that we are always starting over? We're not actually continuing on what...
But what have we started, really?
Well, there have been a number of initiatives that were started in the security sector,
I'm not talking about disjointed efforts, What have we started as part of a wider plan, a plan that's accepted, universally accepted? In the first place, to get something, an issue, something, to get universal acceptance on any strategy, it doesn't work because of the nature of our politics. So even that now, you see the fundamental role it's playing in not being able to solve problems. Colleagues, it's all about solving problems,
That's correct, caller.
You're a mathematician, you would know that. It's all about solving problems. And we always have problems. There are more problems than answers, more questions than answers. And we must at least apply a methodology.
Well, you can't solve the equations if you...
Beg your pardon?
I said in a situation like that, you have to have enough variables to solve the problem. You have to know enough variables to solve the problem. So that's another critical thing in the problem solving.
That's why I premise my thing on that. It's a multifaceted thing. No one, there's no magic silver bullet, rather.
That's correct.
You understand? There's no silver bullet, colleagues. We can't trick ourselves into thinking that, well, all right, and we start we could say, well, we started a process. But then, when we who started it didn't take it further, then remember that thing we had there, consultation some years ago?
A consultation on crime you're speaking of?
On crime.
But that was a one-day consultation, caller.
Well, whatever it was.
I wouldn't expect...
To me, it appeared to be the beginning of a recognition that...
Perhaps it could have been...
Because remember, all parties who took... The opposition at the time took part. You remember that, eh?
Yes, and perhaps it could have been the beginning or the restart of something.
Yeah, but the people who started it, initiated it themselves. So we cannot even attribute that one not working to say, well, it was working, and the next government changed it, the next administration. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we know there is that too also, that even something is good, you know, they will change it, they will want to do it differently, just so that they don't give points to the adversaries. You understand? But there also is that thing where we initiate things that is to be talking about on a political level, and we don't follow it through. You know, so this, I mean, you know, all this I'm saying, songs that we are as if, well, the problem is insurmountable. But it's not. But we must take it from the beginning. There are no shortcuts to this crime thing. There are no shortcuts. Because while we say about the youth, and we talk a lot about the youth, and we must engage them, we must also engage the facilitators. And you know that democratic is not the youth, eh? Huh?
Right.
Right.
Very much so.
So in the first place, we know the youth. We see them, we say, well, this youth from that place, they're from whatever, from Beaufort, from Marsha, the youth from Beaufort, from Marsha. The facilitators don't have a face. They don't have a name. They don't have a face. Alex?
Well, we don't ever hear about them.
Engage them? Who's going to call them out and say, well...
You realize, caller, just yesterday we were speaking about the situation in El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
And it was useful that they could have actually identified, yes, there are these gangs. These are the names of the gangs. You know, these are the people behind the gangs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're getting in the case of St. Lucia, it's as if these things are happening in a vacuum. There's nobody seems to know.
The people who really take them, do you know.
There's no context. There's no context. So you know, you just have.
So we end up condemning our own youth and say, well, yeah, man, you know, it reached a stage we frustrated with them, you know, and any action we'll do, hang them, do whatever we need to do, you know, and then you sit and say, man, is this a Christian nation? Are we truly practicing Christianity? To me, the doctrine of Christianity would inform us that Christ came to save the sinners and not those that are saved. And, you know, he asked questions like, which one of you have all your sheep and one go astray and you won't go and look for him? Even on a Sabbath. You understand?
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes, you know, so this thing makes us question the whole society, the societal construct, religion, government, family, everything, you know, because you're talking about life and death. And when death becomes, we become numb to it, that's another one. How many today? You know, that is what you are saying?
Mm-hmm.
How many gone today? That kind of way, nonchalantly. I mean, we have become a cold-hearted people, you know, colleagues. You know that? Well, thank you.
Definitely,
for
caller. Thanks for that.
Recently engaging me.
Indeed. Thanks very much for that contribution. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Indeed. And we're going to take a pause at this point in time to take in our weather report.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an island style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's of course, the 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from between the forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the southeast and south-southeast near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy and hazy, becoming cloudy at times, with a few brief late night into early morning showers. There is an advisory in here which reads persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to take necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles: over the northern Leeward Islands, cloudy to overcast, with scattered moderate to heavy showers and isolated thunderstorms. Further south, fair to occasionally cloudy and hazy with a few brief showers. And the weather summary: the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate light and moderate southeasterly winds across the eastern Caribbean. A plume of Saharan dust haze will cause a reduction in visibility and air quality across the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. Moisture and instability associated with a frontal boundary will cause cloudiness, showers, and isolated thunderstorms over the northern portion of the Lesser Antilles during the next 24 hours. A relatively dry and stable mid to lower atmosphere will persist over the remainder of the region during the next 24 hours. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality price, service choice. It's all an island style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We've got about 13 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. And the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate is 452-3046.
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
Good afternoon, caller. How are you doing?
Okay, you're a little bit silly. Can you play draft?
Yes, I can.
Do you know the game?
Yes.
Because, you know, a lot of people, when you play in a game of draft, and the one stand up outside, they know all the moves. If they play themselves, they don't see those moves.
Uh-huh.
But if they outside the game,
right,
they can tell you every move that you make.
Sometimes you have a better perspective. Maybe you're standing above.
Yeah, it's a game like the people outside the game can see more than those that play in it.
Well, it could be. There may be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe the experience of the other person, but sometimes you when you're playing too, I don't know, it could be that you may be shrouded, your perspective might be different, and yeah.
Well, I say that because of the ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Alan Shaftney. His New Year's message. Did you hear his New Year's message?
I have not. I've only seen an article about it, but I was...
know everything was to do. Know everything that the government, the present government, is doing wrong. All the move in the draft board, and he didn't do it. And yet now he come and talk about it.
Well, that's the nature of being an opposition caller. You will be very much aware of all the flaws of your opponent.
All the building that we should put, and he didn't put not even one. He used to walk with a big hammer, and he take a lot of the building down, and a few he didn't have enough time to take down because he never take down the pin tree that was to go.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes, certainly. Yes.
And there's another one again. I don't know if it's the old post office somewhere in Bridge Street. Another one there to go, and the father couple to go. So
right.
He just didn't have enough time to take building down, but he didn't put not one down. But now he's talking about building.
What was he talking about building exactly?
So I cannot understand that he had so much to do and he did do nothing. What he did, that's not all the building. No, he went at St. Jude and take a couple down to Louis.
Yeah, it is much easier to destroy than to build, caller.
Pardon me?
I said it's often easier to destroy than to build.
But that's what he was a destroyer.
So it takes a little bit more.
But now you know all the building, you know everything that was. I listened to him and I say, but what happened to... You didn't put nothing, you destroy, but you didn't build, and now you know everything that we should build when you're not in government?
Well, he did have lots of plans to build things. I suppose it just didn't really materialize. It's development is not about a magic wand.
I know he had a lot of plans. By VG Day, where he bought a piece of land for so much money, is a 400-room hotel he was going to put there, by the Peter building there. You know what I'm talking?
I'm not quite
clear. Yeah, by that piece of land that goes by Bill Boutte there, and it goes behind
okay.
Peter's building by the wharf, by the sea there, by the beach.
Well, that's not actually quite his land, but anyways.
that was to sell for almost nothing, and he stayed there, he didn't sell, and our ex-prime minister go and buy it for $4 million, you know.
But be that as it may, I mean, at the end of it all, governments will have plans to do certain developments, and unfortunately, too, part of the challenge that we have, Caller, is that we still have an electorate that perhaps sees development just purely in terms of the physical, and that has been part of the challenge that we have. Yes, you have to have structures to assist in whatever sector you're trying to develop, but it is more than that, and you also have to develop your people. You've got to develop your systems, your institutions, and that is part of the problem. We want to talk about development, physical development, and real estate development, property development, and we still have a fairly antiquated system when it comes to supporting that. We don't have a national land use plan. We still have very antiquated registries to handle land, and so we've got a long way to go in terms of putting the institutions in
we
place.
are a lot bigger than Barbados. So why Barbados can do things right and we cannot do it? Because they have a lot of plan for land and building houses.
There you go.
Designer houses and so much houses they're building for people to buy, and other people coming and spend the money in building houses and selling houses.
Well, and there are a lot of factors there, so let's be fair, because Barbados' topography is quite different from ours. It's an easier country to develop in terms of, but you are right, St. Lucia has more quote-unquote land, but then the thing is, that land, what you can do with it, though, is somewhat restricted. So it means, therefore, we've got...
It's too hilly or whatever.
Well, yes, definitely. In fact, there was in fact, it's perhaps still one of the only ones that has been prepared. There's an OAS, Organization of American States, study that was done looking at land in St. Lucia, and that was way back in the 1980s. And so they looked at issues such as the topography, the soil type, and what can really be supported on a lot of our lands. And that's why we know that, well, look, if you look at arable land in St. Lucia, that's about 6%.
In farming now.
Right, that's farming, right, 6%. But then when you look at the vast majority of land, is actually, I think, close to 75% of our land is really just suitable for conservation, for forestry, and use in tree crops. But in terms of just easy development of saying you're just going and you're clearing property for housing or whatever, it's actually not that great.
But have you ever go to Venezuela?
No, I've never been to Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela is when you go into say Caracas,
right?
Harbor. When you look the hill, all the hill is in the hill. People live, to see because in your mind you say, but because you come from Saint Lucia, how those people could live there? How they make road? How can it's so much houses on top of those? They're almost like cliffs hanging over.
Yes.
And houses on there.
Yeah, well, we have that here too, I mean, in the case of Venezuela, it's an interesting geography because they have this massive mountain range that kind of runs along the coastline, and Caracas is in the valley beyond that mountain range. So it's an interior city in that way, and so you got to get to it. But it's even so, Venezuela still has lots of land in comparison.
Yeah, they have vast
amounts of
very big.
Huge amounts of arable land, flat land that can be developed for lots of other purposes.
Because they go that's why they have the trouble with the Guyanese right now, because they go all in Essequibo.
Right, but the interior of Venezuela is vast, and again, I'm just speaking from a geographical perspective from what I know from it, and the Orinoco River Basin, for instance. I mean, they're nowhere near utilizing their land resources efficiently in the case of Venezuela. But here in St. Lucia, where you've got a very limited amount of land, 152,000 acres, the majority of that is really best suited for the beauty of our mountains and our hills and ecotourism probably and forestry. But we really then have to think about how well you can utilize the good land that can be developed easier for urban development and for housing. And that has always been partly why we've gotten a smaller population than Barbados. The land really just can't support, or in the past it could not support a very large population.
Yeah, but a lot of the land, the hills, you could build on it. Once it's you see, you have clay and you have soft clay. There is a clay. Once the rain fall, it will soften it. but you have the clay that's harder than even the rock stones. And if you can build on that, that's a good foundation to build on, is the infrastructure. Once you could bring infrastructure, you could build on those hills.
Well, yeah, but at what cost? You see, another thing, a lot of our clays...
you have a point.
A lot of our clays are not the very nice ones. They sump very easily. When they get wet, they'll take in a lot of water and then they just slide. So especially in regions like you think about some parts of Babonneau and cul-de-sac valleys, and you've got some really these reddish clays. They're not very good for building.
Is a bit hilly, you know.
They're not very, very good for building. You do have some more areas that are rocky in the older parts of the island, which are like Groselet, as well as in the south.
Yeah, but that's the flattest, one of the flattest, well, apart from Beaufort, one of the flattest place we have land is Groselet.
Groselet, that's correct, yes. Those are the two plains that we have, Groselet and Beaufort. And so really, that's where you got some of your best development opportunities. But of course, to have the right development, you need to also ensure that you have the network.
Yeah, but when we talk about plan, most of the plan that we have is to build houses, to bring tourists in and bring this in and bring... most of the plan we have is in houses, in houses development.
So, for instance, you will quite often hear people saying that, Groselet is congested and we don't have enough space in Groselet. That's not quite true. There is actually a lot of good development land in Groselet still. But you see the challenge that we have is that we're not putting in the necessary infrastructure and to support that type of development.
Mr. George, a lot of the country like that is other people come with the money. Is other people going with the development. You see, so that's why we should have planned. And to me, those that come to St. Lucia, they never finish it. They start, but they never finish. But when they come to Barbados, they have people there for years, building, selling, and doing those kind of bringing those kind of commerce in the country.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that they have been more successful overall in attracting a lot of investment. But they have their own challenges too. Sometimes they do have projects that stall and even properties that are left abandoned for some time, and they need investors to come in and take them over. So yes, I do agree with you that we do need to do better in terms of having that plan. It's just as the last caller was talking about, having a plan for how you're going to tackle long term the issue of safety, right? And the same is the case for the issue of our development of our island, our physical space, our spatial development. And so it's something that we've not really done. Barbados has had many, many physical development plans. In fact, just recently, I think in 2018 they did one. They had one in 2003. They've had it before that. So that's a major gap in what we've been doing here in St. Lucia. But we're going to have to end it here, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Have a good one. Now, that's all the time we have today here at the Lunchroom. Hopefully we'll be back again tomorrow, God willing, for another program. Hope you can join us for that. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.